Just getting things sorted out. Bear with me. Opening up the stream on a second screen so I can monitor it along the way. So it should be good. Okay. Let's go and get inside the aeroplane and get things up and running. Actually, can we see the windsock from where we are? Yeah, we're good. Just checking if we can use runway 22 or not. 24, sorry, not 22. So fuel is on center already.
Clear prop.
We're not going to do that just yet, actually. Let's turn the magnetos back off. We won't turn the radios on until we've done the engine, so beacon light on. Let's go and check things. So mixture should be on a lever. Throttle's working, yep. Crack it open. Propeller full. Right, now we'll do it.
Clear.
Okay, we have the engine running. So, turn the pitot heat on. Don't need the cabin lights, but we do want the nav lights on. We do want the strobes on. We'll put those on when we get to the runway. Below 10,000 feet, we should probably have the landing light on. So, yeah, let's put the strobes on now. We're not using ATC, we're not going to get into trouble. And let me turn the radios on. Okay, so let's just check what the volume levels are like for the stream. I'm going to turn the engine up a little bit, or the airplane I should say, so you can hear the airplane and hear what's going on. Okay. So just looking at the route, we are going to fly VOR navigation all the way. We're not going to use GPS, primarily because this doesn't have a GPS. So the first VOR we're flying to is the LID VOR. The frequency is 11405. So we're going to tune that into nav 1, 11405. Transfer it across to active. I doubt we'll pick it up yet. It would be on here if it was going to. We're wanting to fly 73 degrees into it, so we can tune that in before we even get there. On the Omni bearing selector, so there's 70 degrees. It's going to be about there. So obviously once the needles arrive, we can use that to help us do dead reckoning with the heading on the autopilot down here. So we will get the heading bug ready though. Oops, missed the knob there. So we want this 240 degrees for takeoff. It's about 245 I think actually, off the runway at Wycombe Air Park. Also Wycombe Air Park. Okay, so we should have full fuel. I've absolutely filled it to the top. It won't get us all the way to Lugano. We're going to have to refuel at some point. Okay. Let's go and get on with it, shall we? Parking brake off. I've got a coffee sat here on the desk that's going cold. As soon as I get in the air and get the autopilot on, I'm going to have a sip of my coffee. Shall we do this from outside so you get to watch? Because it's much more difficult to steer from outside. Okay. And rotate. And flaps up. And trim the elevator to maintain the climb. So we are looking for, if you remember, about, I've got the wrong heading on that, haven't I? I put the distance in instead of it's 120 degrees. Let's go and change that before we go and do anything else. We've actually already got, look, the nav radio has just come on. We've got high enough, we got a signal all the way out to Lyd. We should have we got distance measuring equipment in this? I don't think we have we? It's a bit of a shame. Okay, let's really being thrown around. Going on my autopilot. Is it going to work? Yeah, it's working. So we're going to go up to 2,500 feet. We're going to climb 500 feet a minute. We're going to start to lean that mixture off so we can save fuel along the way. We're not going to run the propeller full. There's no need to. And we just need to keep an eye on rotating the tanks to keep it balanced along the way, really. Okay, so if we have a look on here, we need to be travelling about 118 degrees, which we are not doing at the moment. So let's go and put this into heading mode. Do a double back on the direction we're going. Off we go. William Kelly saying sorry for spelling my name wrong. I'm used to it. Everybody spells my name wrong. There's about 20 different ways of spelling it, I think. Martin spelled it wrong as well. Just a quick question, what size graphic card do you use? It's a 3080. NVIDIA 3080. I'm actually seeing it higher resolution than you are. On my screen here it's in 4K and it gets down rated by OBS to 1080p. So within the simulator I lock it to 30 frames a second and I use TAA, anti-aliasing. I don't bother with the new methods of doing anti-aliasing either. Sam's is saying hello. Hello to Sam's. So it's a shame that this hasn't got distance measuring equipment on board, isn't it? Can't easily see how far away we are from a waypoint. But I guess what we could do, although we can look at either Navigraph or little nav map, so you can see the aeroplane icon there. So we'll see it moving along during the day. So we're starting this first leg out to Lyd. Along the way we may visit some airfields, I guess. So let's have a look, see if we might make this a little bit more interesting. Obviously we're not going to visit Heathrow, so we ought to really be going south and go to Wycombe, I guess. So let's go and click on Wycombe, add it to route before Lyd. Is it going to do it? Add it to route. I think Navigraph Charts is having a bit of a problem today. Add to route. Wycombe. It's having a bit of a nightmare, isn't it? Let's go back out of Navigraph and reload it. See if it's having just a bit of a problem. Otherwise we'll just revert to this one nav map, which is fine. See, it has loaded it, so it just hadn't rendered it, which is a bit odd. So the Wycombe frequency 115.3. So let's go and get that tuned in. It's over here, isn't it? 115.3. Switch that to active. Come over to the nav1. What direction do we need for Wycombe? Or Oakham, even. 145 degrees on the compass. So we'll come and set this to 145, which is what we're doing anyway. That's interesting. So why is this not following the heading? Oh, it's simulating the compass drift. This has actually got nav mode as well, so we can make it follow the VOR. So it's going to chase that into the middle now all on its own. We're happily flying along at 2,500 feet. We could probably have a play with the mixture, get it a bit leaned out a bit further. Just watching the, I'm not sure this is simulated very accurately because yeah, it's making no difference to the engine note or to the speed really. We could have a play with the propeller though and see if we can go slower propeller speed and still maintain the same speed. It looks like we pretty much can. Yeah, William Kelly's saying he doesn't think the mixture works, neither do I. It's a shame. Hopefully it will have influenced the fuel burn. I mean, we've used a lot of fuel straight away, look. Let's go and switch to a different tank and just keep them fairly level. So we're going to use the front tank now for a while. There's Heathrow. Obviously we're avoiding it. Once we get to the Wycombe VOR, we will, I guess we want to avoid Gatwick as well. So if we do just continue straight onto Lyd, then that would work quite well. So we tune Lyd on 11405 onto nav 2, shall we? 11405. Oops. Put that on nav 2. Then we can tune this one in so we can see what direction we need to go when we get there. So it's going to be about 130 maybe. Oh no, 115-ish at the moment. I guess in preparation for going over the channel we could try and get above this cloud, couldn't we? It would aid our fuel efficiency. So let's go up to 7,500 feet immediately and see how we do with the clouds. So we've set our altitude. It's interesting that won't let us. This has got some major bugs. Every single implementation of this hardware in the sim works differently. None of them are consistent. So William Kelly thinks I'm going to run out of fuel before I get to the channel. No, I'm not. So look, I've only just started using the front tank. I've used a little bit of the middle tank, haven't used the rear tank at all. We've got lots and lots of fuel. We will have to fuel up along the way. Should we see if we can stop these rattling? Well, these have got any clutches on them as well. Carb heat, wobble pump. There is something rattling down here. Is it the... It's not the cabin heat, is it? I think it's just this plane just rattles basically. We've got an empty hold today, as you can see. We're not carrying anything for anybody. Slowly climbing, coming up to 4,000 feet. So I wonder if 7.5 will be high enough to get above the cloud. We'll find out when we get there. That's interesting. Like, increase the propeller, we're actually losing speed very rapidly. Slow the propeller down and we're gaining speed back gently. We'll find out about the mixture. So we're not looking to burn much fuel at the moment at all. So we may be good. Let's see where we are on the map. So we're just coming into the Oakham VOR. About to make the turn. So we'll switch frequencies to lid 11405. I think the autopilot in this will only follow nav 1. I'm not sure there's a switch anywhere to choose. So I'm going to go and choose or flick nav 1 over to 11405 in a moment. If we want to fly the 109 degree radial to stay on this course, we'll need to tune that in. So there's 109 would be about there. So we're over the top of the other one, so we're going to switch frequencies, which will make this kick back in. And we're just going for the beam now. But this is, interestingly, look, this has completely had a fit, and it's lost, because we lost the signal, it disengaged nav. So I guess that was predictable. So now obviously it's going to overshoot to the south of the line, but it will correct itself eventually. So it's correcting itself back. Let's keep an eye on the airspeed, because that's not looking great. These tight bank turns are not helping it. I'm just easing the throttle forward. I don't think you can brake the engine though in this simulation of the aeroplane. It hasn't really got damage to the engine modelled. So coming up towards 6,000 feet. Be interesting to see how much fuel we have used when we get to lid, about whether we need to descend and go and get some, or we should be good to get over to France though. We can get some fuel at Abbeville. Well, that's the plan anyway. Coming up for 6,500. I think we'll just about get above the clouds at 7,500 then. Looking at this, it's looking hopeful. So we've got these tuned in at about 2992 actually. It's not far off, is it? Sunny out above the clouds. Now, where do we find out the air temperature inside the cabin in this thing? Has it got a gauge for it? We've got manifold pressure, RPM, fuel and oil. There we go. Will this tell us if we hover the mouse? No, it doesn't tell us. That's really useful. So We're looking at -10 outside. It's difficult to know. Oh, here we go. Cabin light. There's the breakers. Just coming up towards 7,500. We're on course on nav 1, which is good. So you can see we're following the plot. I'm going to go for another 1,000 feet just to get above the cloud so we don't dip into it and start icing or anything silly like that. So let's go for 8,500. 500 feet a minute. I wonder if we can... have we got any heating in the cabin? Cabin heat on. There we go. Turn the heat on. Warm it up a little bit inside. Stuttering really badly. P. Basque says hi from Exmoor. Hello. So anybody that does want to join in today, I'm on the West Europe server. I'm running transmitter as well, so if you use Little Nav Map, I'll just explain that to you. If you pop open Little Nav Map and have a look. Obviously this hasn't got that course correction we did along the way. We went via OC, didn't we? Or Wycombe. Add VOR. There we go. Ah, we do have somebody. The Notley Flyer is flying along behind us, so if we look behind us, has he got his nav lights on, or is he lower or higher than us? Possibly, because we're at quite some altitude. to ask if anybody else wants to join in. Okay, so William Kelly says, would you do me a favour and compare the fuel gauge numbers to the pull down fuel numbers? So let's have a look. So these are in imperial gallons. So we've got 24, about 21 and 16. So just cheat for this calc. 24, 21, 16 is 61 gallons. Let's go and then have a look here. Then go to the weights and balance. This is in gallons. 25, 29, 25. But these might not be imperial gallons. They might be different. So 26, 29, 25, 26, 29, 25. Yeah, this might be a different gauge, I guess. That's going to be an interesting one. We'll go by the gauges and not worry too much about what it says on the menu. Salachin says, hey Jonathan, how are you? I apologise if I have mangled your name badly there. Okay, so we're at 8,500 feet. We're above the clouds now. Let's see for miles. So we're just eking out that fuel. Let's see how far... Oh look, the mixture knob has moved. It's interesting. Let's see how far we can lean it out without losing power. And let's see how far we can get away with slowing the propeller down as well. See, look, slowing the propeller down, we're accelerating. Seems to be a sweet spot at about 75 to 80%, which is in common with lots of other aircraft. A lot of them behave like that. So let's pull the throttle back a little bit as well. Obviously that is going to lose some speed. So maybe we just edge that forwards a bit more. I'm just interested in seeing how far we can get away with cutting the mixture back. 130 knots, it's not too bad at all. That's indicated, of course. Our speed over the ground would be a lot faster than that. If we look in Little Navmap, for example, yeah, we've got 134 knots speed over the ground. So we are en route to Lydd, and then we will turn across the channel and head for Abbeville. I think we'll get a lot further based on this fuel burn that we're doing at the moment. Let's go and choose the rear tank just to use some of that as well. So we're just looking to balance up these needles a bit. Camera over in the corner of the cockpit, so get a nice view. So we should do it the other way, so we haven't got that tablet, so it looks a bit more period authentic. Okay. Oh, we have got the, didn't look overhead, look, we've got the outside air temperature up there as well. So there's a little one here, but there's another one here. Maybe that's the cabin temperature and that's the outside air temperature, or that's what I expect. If so, I'm quite worried because opening up the heating didn't really make much difference. We'll see. How are we doing on the route? On the outside view while we're chugging along on the autopilot. While we're just en route, I'm going to make a quick coffee. I'll be back in a few minutes, hopefully in time to get to Lid and go and retune for the next VOR. See you later. Right, let's see where we are. I'm just waiting for the kettle to boil. A bit closer to lid. That's good. So yeah, we'll descend down, go and fill up with fuel at Abbeville. How are we doing on burning fuel? We got lots of fuel left. Yeah, so leaning it out is working. It's not affecting the engine much, but it's not burning the fuel anywhere near as quickly. Still holding 130 indicated. That's miles per hour. I keep saying that. I keep saying it's knots. We're not. We're doing miles per hour, which again is different than you would expect. Anyway, I'm not going to worry too much about that. Right, that was a kettle I just heard in the distance, so put the camera back outside. See you in a moment. Alright, I'm back. Let's have a look at the aeroplane, see how it's going. We're doing really well on fuel actually, better than I thought we would. I think 8,000 feet and above is where you start to get the effects of hypoxia if you're susceptible to it. Some people don't get affected until they're way above 10,000 feet, but I think 8.5 to 9 and upwards is where some people start to get affected. So hypoxia is like low oxygen. Oh, David Beckett, my dad has appeared in the live stream. Is he flying along with us? Let's go and have a look on the nav map. not yet. So we're just coming up over the top of Lyd. We need to tune the VOR to Abbeville now, 108.45. So need to do that quite quickly. So 108.45. Switch over. Go and look at nav1. Interesting, look, that has not picked up. So what is the range of that one? 60 miles, that'd be why. Yeah, we're beyond the range of it, so we're going to fly blind at 143 degrees on the compass until we pick it up. So let's go and get the... Where's the heading bug? Is it hiding? There it is. So yeah, we've just picked up... Oh, that was nav 2, sorry. So if we go to heading mode, the plane will turn right. Here it goes. We want 145 degrees or thereabouts. Probably closer to 150 to come back to the direction of the... Which way's the wind, by the way? Oh, we've got tailwind. So we'll go whistling across the English Channel. I think the French call this body of water the elbow. So we're waiting to pick up nav 1. There isn't... Oh, we could use... what's this one called? Boulogne. 113.8. We could put that on nav 2 just so we can see it. I keep looking in the wrong place for the compass. What was it again? 113.80. So then obviously we could measure that and say nav 2 is at 120 degrees. So if we didn't have our aircraft plotted, we could be doing the reciprocal directions of 120, for example, which you can look on here. Look, it's 30. You can see it straight away. Why are we shaking? I think that was just some turbulence. So yeah, you can look across and let's say, okay, it would be 30 degrees from the VOR. We are at the moment. This has just come on, look. So we can now get this lined up on the omni-bearing selector. And we know exactly what direction to go. So it is 145 degrees. But we can just switch over to nav mode now. And it will follow nav 1. So we'll automatically follow the beam straight along to Abbeville. Gunther Van Leer, can you lock the tail wheel on this plane? That's a good question. So you can see obviously that you can control it. I'm not going to go and hit the controls because it'll turn the rudder as well and I'll start corkscrewing all over the sky. I don't know is the answer to that. I don't think you can, so you just have to control it. But it is quite easy to control. It's a lot easier than the DC-3. Because there's the parking brake. Yeah, I don't think you can lock the tail wheel on this one. Now, is that just dirt on the window, or are we starting to get ice forming? It's difficult to tell, isn't it? Is it just the sun on the window that's causing that? Or is it because it's in shadow it's starting to ice? It's hard to tell. So I'm going to dip down below this cloud so we actually will see land coming when we get there. So let's go and set our target altitude for 3,000 or 2,500 feet again, and let's come down at 500 feet a minute. We should just cruise down. We shouldn't overspeed, I wouldn't think, but we'll wait and see. May have to pull the throttle back a little bit just while we're descending. turbulence, look, the whole airframe's vibrating. So we're going to come down about 6,000 feet. Oh, if we time this right, we can come down to this hole in the cloud that's just approaching. So we can descend through it. I think we're just going to dip into this bit of cloud here. Another aeroplane over there. Is that our friend? Let's have a look. No. Oh, Dave's just taken off from Paris-la-Plage. So David is saying, did you know PMDG has updated the 737? Yes, I did. I've updated them all already. I saw it on the news feed. So just in case anybody hasn't seen this, an easy way to keep up with the flight sim news is to use a tool called InnoReader. So we go to it in a browser. You can see I'm logged in already as myself, so I've got all the feeds showing up, but I've got a flight simulation feed and or category, and within there I've got lots of flight sim websites that are all aggregating all of their news in one place for me. So I can very quickly and easily see all of the news coming in. And you can see it even detects duplicate articles. So I can filter the duplicates if I want to. So let's have a look. There's obviously some custom liveries that are happening for the Hercules or Spruce Goose. There's all sorts of things. Looks like the Fokker F-28 isn't far away at all now, which is really interesting. That's going to be quite the aeroplane to go fly when it finally comes out, isn't it? I think it's going to be the next purchase for quite a few of us. But yeah, so InnoReader, you go and have a look at it. It's very good. It's probably, I think it's a bit better than Feedly for doing the same trick. Okay, let's just keep keep an eye on this. We're just coming through this last piece of cloud. We're still dropping. As soon as we get through this bit of cloud, we'll just increase our descent rate to 1,000 feet a minute. Which is fairly straightforward. Just go and do this. Need to increase the mixture as we descend. As the air gets thicker, the lean mixture won't work. So probably coming up to about a quarter of the journey distance now. Not many flyers still with us. Just going to look behind. How are we going to see him? He maybe hasn't gone onto the West Europe server, which is why we can't see him. Oh no, we can. There he is. He's behind us. VFL 0406 Dave is coming in to meet us as well, although he's way above us now because we've descended down, so he's 3,000 feet above us. We are descending further to 2,500. He's somewhere there. So we've still got about 2/3 of our fuel, if not 3/4, in the tanks. So we could continue on past Aberville actually. Where would make sense to stop for fuel along the way? So once we get to Aberville, it's 44 miles over to what's the airport hiding over here? Teal. When we start going cross country, I wonder how far we could get. I wonder if we really can get down to Basel before we refuel. So if we've used, I think we might be able to get to Basel. We've got the wind behind us, remember? Although, having said that, look, there's some pretty severe weather around. So coming down in altitude is not going to help our cause at all. Should we find out what the QNH is at Aberville? Weather. This is easier to do in Navigraph actually, but 1012 or 2988. So we look very closely at this. 29, yeah, it's a bit out, isn't it? It's a bit back there. Okay. Oh, the weather just updated. It's closing in on us, isn't it? So it's debatable now. Do we stay above the weather as far as we can on the route, or do we just live with it? We're going very slowly, aren't we? Let's go and increase this mixture. Yeah, look at the speed picking up. So we didn't hear an engine note change, but we're picking up speed. Obviously that's going to drink fuel though, which is the only issue really. So flying at about 8,000 feet we had really good fuel economy, but now we don't. Here comes Beckett Senior. Here comes the rain. Let's see how well modelled it is. See it streaming down the side window. Obviously that's not the aeroplane I'm seeing it as, it's something else. So if we zoom in, it is a Socata TB30 Epsilon. Okay, yeah, it's the French military trainer. William asks, I wonder if it's because I'm using the drop transgression model I am having fuel gauge issues, but as far as I know they didn't mod that. I just can't think what else it could be. Flight I think you know. Oh, what flight time are you anticipating on this? I don't know. I just took off and thought, let's go and fly down to Italy. To give the Beaver a proper run. So this coastal town we're just about to pass over is Burke, apparently. So there is a little airfield down here, if we could see it through past the dirty windshield. It's over there, look, in the mist. Yeah, I haven't got the Epsilon installed at the moment. I've ended up removing all the aeroplanes that I don't necessarily want to fly regularly, or that, and it seems to have solved a lot of the crashing issues by just not having the planes. So there seems to be issues with the pipeline with memory or something like that. So when you get lots of aeroplanes loading in, either a static aircraft on the ground or as multiplayer aircraft, it can bring the sim to its knees sometimes. So if you just don't have them installed, okay, you get a lot of substitutions, but the sim has a much easier time. Okay, so we'll have a look at landing at Abbeville. So still en route. Let's drop down to, so we're at 2,500 feet now. Let's drop down to 1,500 feet and see how we go. How are we doing on fuel? We could probably get rid of some fuel out of the front tank now, just to level it up a bit. And middle as well, actually. Yeah, let's go for middle tank first. Or centre. Same thing. So we are about 20 miles from Abbeville, across the French countryside. Go and drop in at Abbeville. Get on. Okay, we're getting closer. 12 miles or so. Keep an eye out for the airfield. Go in, do a touch and go. So which way's the direction of the wind actually? Let's have a look. So, wind on the ground. If we hover over the airfield it will tell us. So it's 300 degrees, 10 knots. So about coming from here towards the airfield at 10 knots. So we probably need to come in runway 02, which is a paved runway. So we'll fly over, do a right circuit into runway 2. Does that sound about right? Or we could cut off here, do left circuit into runway 2. That would be the way to do it, wouldn't it? Rather than overfly. But if you overfly, you get to have a look at the airfield, I guess. We could do it properly, of course, and have a look on here. So it hasn't actually got a circuit as such, it's just got an entry point to come in on the circuit. So he just wants you to come in at 1200 feet. So that makes sense to come off early and then come in. So let's make our descent to 1200 feet now. Let's go and check the QNH for the airfield. 2988. 2988. Yeah, that looks about right. So our altimeter is accurate. Can you see the airfield out there now? I think that's it, isn't it? Just here. So we're going to switch over to heading mode in a moment and fly 200 degrees for downwind. So we'll get that ready. Because we're on nav mode, remember, at the moment. So there's 200 degrees prepared. So we'll just switch the autopilot to heading mode when we get to the point we want to turn. Let's make that turn, and then we got some time on the base leg to have a look sideways and see the airfield. So there is the airfield. Scoot sideways out of the window. Yeah, so we're just going to do a double back on ourselves and come in, and then I go and get some fuel, and then we carry on our way again. So we'll look at that from outside. Yeah, there you go. Is that a go-kart track or some sort of racetrack? Could be supermoto or something like that. Okay, let's come off the autopilot. I'm going to squeeze up as if I'm leaning forwards in the seat. Interesting, look, this is marked as a disused runway. We're going to ignore that. I think we should be using the grass alongside, to be honest. going on? Where's the fuel then? Is it over in this corner? Do you think they'll mind me jumping across the grass? I think it's over here. Yeah, we had quite a strong crosswind and I didn't even think about countering it until we'd landed. If I'd been prepared for it, it would have been a straight landing, but I wasn't prepared for it at all. There's the fuel. Brake on, fill it up, do the craziest pushback ever with the engine still running. Back out onto the runway and then continue on 164 degrees on the compass. So while we're just rolling out to the runway, we're going to set the compass ready. Okay, so this time we are ready for the crosswind, he says, as he looks down at the keyboard, doesn't look at the screen, and has to fight the aeroplane. This plane really doesn't like strong crosswinds. It's reacting very badly to it. Yeah, you can see the wind has got under the wing. So I'm using quite a lot of left aileron there to hold the plane from rolling. Not nice. Let's increase that propeller speed. Full throttle. Flaps up. That is very turbulent. So we're looking for 1.4 something, 164 degrees. So let's play some games this time and see how far we can get on a minimal fuel mixture. Yeah, up to 8,000 feet at 500 feet a minute. Yeah, the autopilot in all of these aeroplane heaven now. Well, this is a Blackbird simulations plane though. This one is bugged in so many different ways in terms of the sequence of buttons you press. The arm doesn't really work properly. So if I go and choose a height, I should be able to arm it, and it just doesn't do anything. I pressed Alt again, which should do altitude hold. It switches over and asks me for the vertical speed to get to the target height, but with no indication that it's actually going for an altitude. It just drives you around the bend. Anyway, we'll ignore that. Pull the propeller back again, and pull the throttle back again. And let the plane climb itself up to 8,500. And we'll pull the mixture back as we go and see how efficiently we can run the engine. So running full rich for those few seconds on takeoff, look, ate a chunk of fuel very quickly. Okay, let's get the navigation sorted out. So we're going down towards the Beauvais-Thiel VOR 10965. So let's go and zoom in on this so we can see it. 10965. Switch it to active. Tune it in on the OBS. Oh, this is DAV2, what am I doing? There we go. So we're looking for 165 degrees. We're flying there or thereabouts. So if we switch to nav mode now, the plane will bank slightly to correct. Follow the route over to the next VOR and climb as we go. So if I look at the front, I should be able to see Beckett Senior over here somewhere. And this is on a different server to us. Actually, that's a good point. On transmitter, I haven't said the right server, have I? Let's go and disconnect. West Europe, connect. There we go. So if we go and click on Dave, I bet he's got, yeah, he's left his on Southeast Asia, but I bet he hasn't just updated it. So we got Patrick's coming in as well from the west, joining us on our flight. So any plane with any speed will be able to catch us very easily. So what's Patrick flying? He's in the C310. So he'll come ripping past us. He's got a twin. So looking at the live stream chat, had a lot of new aircraft showing at the Beechcraft Racing 20s, very odd. Flew the Beaver with a friend from Cold Bay to Kodiak, Alaska last night. It took 4 hours. 2 of that was in the dark. We set 570 pounds of cargo as fuel. Halfway point we landed in the water to fuel up. That's a really good idea. I hadn't thought of doing that. That's clever. We didn't use GPS, it was all Skyvector charting and manual tuning of the radios. Yep, best way to do it. From and to the VORs, especially if you've got modern kit. It's a bit more of a struggle in the DC3 because you haven't got an accurate omni-bearing selector dial on the HSI. So just coming up towards 5,000 feet. Should be into the clouds soon and then through it. So outside air temperature is not too bad look at the moment. It's just about on 0. So hopefully as long as we don't get too wet in this cloud, it won't ice up too badly. Yes, there is an argument for turning and avoiding the clouds just until we get high enough. But let's just plug on the way we're going at the moment. So what we might want to do is go and turn we've got pitot heat on. Carb heat is not on yet. So let's go and do that. Also, as we get higher, we can start pulling that mixture back. So that's interesting. Look, pulled the propeller speed back and it started to actually accelerate gently. Though it's dropping again now. It's probably because we're going into this denser air of the rain cloud. We'll see how we go. If we do much of the rest of the journey at high altitude, we might be able to get all the way to Lugano on one tank now. Let's have a look at the map. So Patrick's just coming in on a bit of an intercept course to join us. So what I might do is, once we make the turn at BOV, Bravo Oscar Victor, I'll set the plane for cruising basically and go have a break, and because that's probably going to take the best part of maybe a couple of hours, isn't it, to fly that part of the route. So I'll check on the aeroplane now and again, but I won't always be here. We've got other things to go do, but I can come back and keep an eye on it. And then obviously as we fly in through the hills towards Lugano, through the Alps, we'll fly all that by hand. That'll be the fun part at the end of the journey. Just coming up for 7,000 feet. I think we're going to go for 9, aren't we? Or 9.5 even. So let's go and push that on to 9.5. We are losing some speed here, so we're going to start playing with the mixture again. So yeah, look, that mixture was too rich. I've leaned it out and we're accelerating. bit too far. Let's continue as we climb up. So we're just getting to the top of the cloud layer. And if we look in front of us, if he's on the same server, we'll see Patrick going across. Can't see him at the moment. He's at the same level as us. He's 1,000 feet higher actually. He's somewhere over there. Let's see if I can see any nav lights. It's about 4 miles away. Somewhere over there. Somebody has spawned in with a jet plane nearby. Either that or it's a bug. Okay, that was interesting. I wonder why this doesn't draw pilots inside the aeroplane. Or if it's an option. Let's have a look. It's co-pilot visibility. One second. Okay. I'm not eating, honest. Right, let's go and switch over to the front tank and use some fuel from it. That one. I wonder if that is FS realistic having a fit. No, it's not. That's a bug in multiplayer. Yeah, so that's a multiplayer bug right there. Interesting, it doesn't always do it. Okay, we won't be going outside for a while. If we go back down the car, the aircraft, we see at the back. We're just too high to see out the windows, aren't we? Van Leer says, is there a gauge to help you lean the mixture? I don't think so. I think it's just you have to do it. Unfortunately, there's no audio feedback of what's going on with the engine, so you just have to keep watching the airspeed when you play with it to see what happens in terms of increase or decrease in performance. Unfortunately, it's also related to propeller speed as well. I remember from reading the real aircraft guidebook on the Twin Otter that is kind of tailored for about 80% on the propeller and the throttle, so you wouldn't be normally going along at full throttle. But I am today, so we get there, you know, this week. How are we doing on the map? So we're just coming up to that next waypoint. We're going to turn left now, 106 degrees now. We are on the nav settings, so we can change the heading to 106 degrees without affecting anything. So 106 is about there. The next VOR will be 11760, so we'll put that on the standby frequency. So that's 11760. 11760. So as we fly over the VOR, it should lose the nav on the autopilot. So let's go and see if we can see that happen. So we're flying up to the VOR. We're absolutely on the signal at the moment. Flying to it. We're looking, we should lose this signal off the autopilot. So we've lost nav 2. Quite there yet. Going overhead the VOR station in the next few seconds. Be interesting to see how this behaves. Okay, so the next 10 seconds it's It's going to go right over the top of the VOR, so you'll see the 2 light go out. There it goes, and we've lost nav. So we go heading mode now. So it's going to start turning left. Now we're on heading mode, we can switch the active frequency to 11760, and we've already picked it up, look, because the horizontal situation indicator has shot across the nav instrument. So let's spin this round. So that will tell us what direction we need to go. So 105 degrees, which pretty much agrees with what we've got on the map. So then we press nav, we go back to nav mode. Now we've reconfigured the radio and we're good to go again. Some horrible bits of fluffy cloud right in that way. Hopefully it'll dissolve by the time we get there by the look of it. So how are we doing on fuel burn? Let's have a look. We switched over to the front tank, didn't we, recently? It's just coming down towards 24 gallons left. And the screeching has gone away. Figure that one out. Should we try the drone camera for a change? What we could also do is go and load my minimal layout, see if it still works actually with the new version of... it doesn't look. So to make a minimal layout, all you need to do is go and turn everything off. So we're going to go and turn all of these toolbars off, all of the dialogues around the edge of the screen. So we'll go and turn off the map toolbar, map options toolbar, map airspaces, map dock, map tools, whoops, tools toolbar, show status toolbar. We will so you can still do everything with the menus that you could do before. So how do we get rid of this? Aha, there we go. So I'm going to get rid of all of these bits of window, so then we can make this smaller. Put this over here, and we can see progress on this map, which is much more useful to us. So Paris is off to the right at the moment. We also can go and hide this bar. We just go into task behavior in Windows and automatically hide the taskbar, so it will go away, and then we can do that. Much more better. So you get to see the aeroplane in flight, and you get to see where we are at the moment. I guess we could pull up the head-up display stuff on the external display, so we get to see the flight information, but it's probably good enough, to be honest. We can see glide slope, ground speed on the map. We just need to duck inside the aeroplane now and again to have a look at the fuel. I'm going to go make a hot drink. I'll be back in a bit. Inside quickly. Whoops, wrong button. How are we doing on fuel? So front tank is slowly coming down. We'll let it drop to 20, and then we'll drop rear to 16 after that. So we're just going to rotate the tanks basically to help us along the way. See much at the moment, so the sun is going to start going down on us. We'll try not to worry. See if we can get this camera into a good position on the drone view. That'll do, won't it? Look around and see if we can see anybody else. Not at the moment. How are we doing on fuel? Still doing fine. World of Simulations is saying many greetings from Black Forest, Germany. Nice stream, Jonathan. Thank you very much. It's not the busiest of streams. We're just taking the Beaver for a long flight for a change. Climbed up to altitude. It's been interesting actually to see how the engine behaves with the mixture pulled back. So you don't appear to get much audio cue from the engine, but you can see the speed change on the indicated airspeed. when you're fiddling with the propeller and the fuel mixture. John Bartow says hello from Massachusetts. Hello. Aeroplane Heaven have just awarded me the top fan badge on their Facebook page, whatever that means. I think it means if I go and interact with anybody on their Facebook page, I get a jewel next to my name. Great. It's been interesting actually, since I did the videos about the DC3. A couple of different websites have featured my videos, which I wasn't expecting at all. So Aeroplane Heaven themselves have been featuring my videos about the DC3. Why they haven't put the effort into doing demonstrations themselves, I'm not quite sure, but there we go. Maybe I'll have to get in touch with some of the aircraft producers and say, if you gave me the information ahead of time, I could do some videos for you. Work together with you. So a lot of the time, if I have inaccuracies in the video, it's just because the information wasn't readily available. And it's often actually the case that you go and talk to a real pilot of the aircraft in question, and they'll say, oh yeah, that checklist is wrong, which is exactly what happened with the DC3. The as published checklist, which is in the documentation, would lead to an engine fire or a high risk of one in the real aircraft. So that actually led to me revising the startup sequence for it. It's an interesting one. Because obviously there are some things like engine fires that aren't explicitly modelled in the sim. Okay, you've got things like the Kodiak that you can blow its engine, but it doesn't have flames and bits of engine falling out the bottom and oil and the rest of it. In a strange sort of way, the Dakota is reminiscent of the Boeing 247 in its startup sequence. All you have to really think about is the crank function in the 247 is an electrical function in the DC3. And I guess earlier models of DC3, or ones that just didn't have those electric starters, it would have been somebody stood outside turning the propellers by hand. And it actually primed the engine. So John is saying he's enjoying the virtual flight website, gives me goals and things to do. That was the whole point of it. I dithered about creating that virtual airline for probably 18 months because I knew it was possible to do. I knew that VA Base was out there and that you could use their toolkit to make a virtual airline. But it was just kind of knuckling down, and we expected maybe 30 or 40 pilots maybe, based on the experience of others that have set up virtual airlines. But maybe they didn't see me coming and the amount of effort I would put into onboarding people and getting attention to it. Obviously I had the YouTube channel to lean on along the way, so that helped enormously. So I had a ready-made publication advertising avenue. So yeah, it's been actually a shock though, even way beyond expectations, the number of pilots. But having said that, not all of the pilots are active, or not all of the time. So there's an enormous number have joined the website that have never flown, which is a bit odd to me. That why would you join something with no intention of ever actually taking part? But an enormous number of people do take part, which is fantastic. But yeah, I've been busy putting tours together because, like you say, it gives people just something to go do and to fly in a part of the world potentially that they've not been to or not even thought about visiting before. So I will admit, when I set up tours for the airline, I'm explicitly looking for places we haven't been. Same as the group flights on a Sunday. Almost invariably, it's somewhere you wouldn't have thought of going. You know, sometimes we go to popular places. You know, you might go and visit a World Heritage site or something like that. Oh, hello. We just had a... Is that the Baron or the 310? I think it's the Baron that just went below, went past underneath. Let me join in on the map. It's Beckett Senior. There he is, floating around below us and behind us. So yeah, and there's a lot of other things that we've done with the airline to try and help it along. Things like the newsletter, which probably takes about half an hour of effort per week, just to write up any changes that have happened at the airline. But it goes out to over 500 people, so, you know, it's a good carrot to tell people that we're still here, we're still operating, we've got all these flights, we're adding to the flights all the time, we're adding airplanes to the fleet all the time. So we're trying to make the way into the virtual airline, we're setting the bar as low as we sensibly can while still having a rank structure. So, you know, you can choose any plane for most of the tours to go and fly the legs regardless of your rank. The Cycling Heavyweight Champ, great name by the way. Says, hi John, I've been enjoying your videos for a while now, you create great content. I just joined you at Abbeville in the same aircraft you were flying. My engine cut out after half an hour. There's lots of reasons it could have. The most obvious that I can think of, if I can jump inside, did you turn the carb heat on? That's the most common reason for losing the engine after a little while, is you didn't turn the carb heat on. It's not great in terms of dials to see if it's an issue, but you've got the temperature here, which again you can see mine is not, well, it's kind of in a good place. I'd have to look in the book, but it's supposed to be up here. I'm a bit cold, so even with that all the way down I'm still quite cold on the carburetors, but we'll see. So we were talking earlier about cutting the fuel when we got to 20, and we've just done that. So let's go and switch to rear now and get rid of a few gallons of fuel out of the rear tank. So Michael Burkhill is saying, hi John, what is the VA group? I'll pull it up in a browser and show everybody. So if I open a web browser. So if you go to Virtual Flight Online on the internet, that's the group that I started about 2.5 years ago, and it was expressly made in the beginning just to do group flights. That's why Transmitter came about, which is linked here on the homepage. So when you read more about Transmitter, it's a little program that transmits where you are. So then other people can either use Little Nav Map or look on this map here, and you can see where people are that are running it. Obviously you can see a list as well. So you can see, if you look on this list, there's a VFL 0100. There's me. So if I click on me, it will zoom in on me on the map. So that's what Transmitter does. So that was the original thing we built at Virtual Flight Online, and it was purely because we couldn't see each other on the map. And you still can't with Flight Sim. It's a bit maddening really. So you can't do like ATC with a group flight, for example, which is what I was doing with another group, and so we needed that tool, so I went and built it. Alongside that, we built out a Discord server. So there's all the details are on Virtual Flight Online about the Discord server, and there's a joining link there. And so we do live chat during the group flights. You'll have seen on the live streams I've posted in the past. We've done lots of those. But yeah, so just recently we've started up a virtual airline. So the link to get into it is in here with all of the guides for getting started. So how to download the ACARS software to track your flights, what the rank structure looks like, how flights are scored, all that kind of thing. So when you go and visit the airline, you can see what a runaway success this has been. We've got nearly 567 pilots, 11,000 hours have been filed, 2 million miles covered, 10,000 flights. It's crazy. You can see people, these are people that are running ACARS right now all around the world. If you go and click on one of them, it will show you the route they're on and where they're going from and to. You can see there's the newsletter that I send out every week that's got information on new tours. So when I mention tours, what I mean by that is if you go into tours and have a look, there's lots of tours you can choose to do that are tailored for different aircraft types. So there's one here, these are all general aviation ones, for example. So if you went to the Iceland, regional tour of Iceland, if you go and click on that, it opens it up and you can see there's lots of legs. You can see progress of other people have made and a map of the legs around Iceland. So then if you go and view one of those legs, the trick with this is if you're logged in, which I'm not, you get a dispatch button. So let's just go do that. So if I go back into a tour, I've just logged in. We'll do this Italy one, it doesn't really matter. So you can see I've actually completed the tour in the past, but that doesn't mean I can't do another leg from it. So you can see the route map there. So you could say, okay, we're going to go and do this leg. So I could dispatch it. And once you've dispatched it, you can go and look at a briefing. So that's pulled up all the weather and the details of the journey and departure airport briefing, arrival airport briefing, so on and so forth. We could push that out to SimBrief fully automatically to write us a flight plan and bring it back into here. But at this point, now we've dispatched, we can run the ACARS software, which is the tracking software, and it will load the flight plan up and start taking notice of what we're doing with the aeroplane. And the reason for doing that, off the back of all of this, not only do we get to tick off that we've flown the legs and to build up our hours in the airline, which gives us bigger and better things to do, but you also get every flight you do gets scored. So you can see I had some failures on this one, I stalled. So this is a flight report. You can see whether I've failed on landing lights above 10,000 feet, so I didn't turn them off when I got to 10,000 feet. You can see the exact route you took and where you flew. Obviously I was losing height, so I doubled back on myself to descend because I was just coming off the Himalayas. But yeah, so over time you fly legs. You can also do scheduled routes, so you could say it's easier to see this actually on the route map. So say we went and chose somewhere like Cairo is a good example, or San Francisco. What flights are available San Francisco? So let's go and try a different one. So Cairo, so you can see all the major routes that go in and out of Cairo on the schedules, and you could go and pick one of those, for example, go fly it in one of the big jets, and obviously then you get your report in at the end. You file your report from the ACARS software and it all goes in for you. But alongside all of this, there's a rank structure. So if we go back to Virtual Flight Online, which is somewhere over here, you can see there's rank. So when you start in the airline, you start as a student pilot with 0 hours. After the first hour logged, you get private pilot. So when you're a student pilot, all you can fly is the Cessna 172, the 152 and the Robin. After you've filed an hour on ACARS, you get access to all of the other GA aeroplanes. Class D is things like the Kodiak and the Caravan. Class B is all the business jets, so the Cessna Citation, Longitude and CJ4, that kind of thing. So that's Class C. Class B is A320, 737, that kind of aircraft. Class A is the 747 and the 787. And then the extended ones are just for people that have gone off the end and to give them something to work towards longer term. But yeah, the airline's good fun, and it, like as people have said in the comments, it gives you something to do. because there's always another flight to go pick off the schedules or off the tours to go fly around different parts of the world. So we've done the hard work of figuring out sensible length flights for you. So none of the flights tend to be longer than a couple of hours tops. Usually they're about an hour. So if we go and look on this international tour of Australia in a Kodiak, for example, if we go and look at this one, it's this is quite a long one though, 458 miles. That's just because it's Australia and there's not much you can do about that. But yeah, you get the idea. But there's no actual restriction on aircraft choice for the tours, so you could go and fly anything you like. Where the rank structure comes in is if you want to use SimBrief, it kicks in and says yeah, you can't. Or if you want to do a scheduled flight, you have to have the rank for the aircraft. So each aircraft is assigned a minimum rank. So if we go and look in the fleet, you can see them all in here. So if we go and look at a particular plane, that's a really bad example. Let's go and look at this Airbus A310. You can see I haven't put the stats in yet, but you have to be a Class B first officer to use it. There's some of the aeroplanes we've already filled in with all of their numbers. So if you go and look at the Electra, yeah, you've got all the data on it, for example. Needs a private pilot rank to fly it. If you go and look at the Trilander, it needs Class D first officer to fly it. If you go and look at the DC-3, it needs a Class D first officer to fly it. If you go and look at the Twin Otter, that's a Class D. So they're all of a type, you know, of the aircraft. They're broadly categorised. We've got Kodiak there, again, Class D, as I said earlier. So most of the popular aeroplanes are in here, so you can fly them and book flights with them. But yeah, it's just, as we said at the start, it's to give you something to do and something to work towards, so it keeps your logbook for you. If anything goes wrong, you can actually file a flight manually if you haven't used the software. So you can go and fill in the form and submit it, and it will still record your hours that you did that flight. Okay. So yeah, that's Virtual Flight Online. The Discord server is great fun, and we have somehow managed to avoid the legion of idiots that plague the Microsoft official Discord. So we're quite strict. We don't allow people to mess about too much. We unfortunately just recently we had to ban a couple of people because they were, well, I'm not going to get into it, but we had some problematic situations occurred with people arguing with moderators and then going through the moderators one by one, trying to turn them against each other. They didn't realise that, of course, the moderators all talk to each other. Oh, we got the bogus return back with the jet engine noise. We won't be going outside. Either that or the gearbox has started to come to bits. Oh yeah, so David has mentioned that there are liveries for Virtual Flight Online. We work in concert with a fantastic livery developer. Let me just find him. So if I go back to the Virtual Flight Online website and we look at the newsletter, there's been several newsletters that have mentioned the liveries recently. So we can give some good examples of them. Here we go. So we've got a fantastic livery designer. I helped with the branding, but he's actually implemented the liveries on the aeroplanes. So you can see here we've got the Virtual Flight airline livery for most of the popular aircraft types, and there are more coming out all the time. It's really, really cool. We're going to have another look. I think we've got some more liveries down here, maybe. Yep, some more. Look, there's the Twin Otter with the business livery. There's the King Air with the livery. There's the Kodiak with the livery. There's the Honda Jet with the livery. So yeah, he's done some absolute sterling work on the liveries for us. So you can download all of those via the links in the site. So John Bartow has said the jet noise scares the heck out of him. Okay, so his worker has turned up and I can't actually read what he's written, so I'm just going to pass it through Google Translate. So bear with me. Translate. .google. .com. So detect language. Greetings to everyone on the stream from distant Poland. Greetings to Zurko. Okay, this cloud is looking ominous, isn't it? Let's just have a quick look on Little Nav map. Whoa, we've gone off track, haven't we? What's happened there? Have I clicked something along the way? Of course, we flew through the VOR and turned nav off. So anybody that was busy following me blindly, I'm sorry about that, but we've not actually done what we should have been doing there. So we're going to turn back and we're going to fly straight for BLM. So let's do a little bit of... This is quite handy actually that this has happened. We're going to measure on the map. We want 122 degrees on the compass. So to get back on track, we're going to turn to 122 degrees, which is about there. Do you see the plane doing that? How are we doing on fuel, by the way? So we come down to about 16. Let's get the other tanks down to 16 as well, then we'll go back to the middle tank now and use up some fuel on that one. So we're in the middle of this horrible murky cloud at the moment. So what we could do is fly some different headings. So we'll go and add this in. Oh, that's not a VOR though. Let's see if we can pick this up. What's the range on this VOR station? Show information for this VOR, and it's got a range of 100 miles, which is way beyond. 100 miles is going to be about there. We will pick it up. So what we could do, knowing that, is we could measure from here to say there. So we want to be on the 114 degree radial out of CTL, which is 117.6. So we're on 117.6, so we need to be on the 115 degree radial, in between the settings there. So we're going to set the omni-bearing selector to 115 degrees, so that's 100, 110, 115 degrees. Oh, looks like the internet's playing up at the Microsoft server farm again. So it's 115 degrees. Oh, we've done it on the wrong radio though. We're getting good at that. 110, 115. Okay, so then we go to nav mode. Watch what the airplane does. It's turning right. So what the plane's going to do is intercept that track and then straighten up onto it. So this is quite good in a way because we get to play with nav radio navigation. So that was while I was busy talking about the airline. We basically flew over the top of the VOR, which disabled the autopilot. So it just carried along with wing levelling. But unfortunately, because of the wind direction, that started to weathercock the plane round into the wind. Yeah, because all the plane was doing was keeping its wings level, so the wind on the side of the tail made the plane skid slowly round in an arc. Thankfully we caught it before we'd gone far too far out of our range, or out of our off track. We'd gone about 20 miles while we were busy talking about the airline. So now we're just going to follow the signal from this VOR. Let's just check this actually. This has got a 100-mile range. So yeah, that's 100 miles, look. So by the time we get to there, we should be just in range of the other one. So rather than having to fly the middle of the route with no signal from the base stations, we can fly that 100 miles out away from this VOR, then tune the next one. So we want 11745 tuned in on VOR on nav2, then we'll be able to see when we pick it up. So 11745, 11745, and switch it to active. Obviously it's not picked it up yet, but we'll get this into the neighbourhood of the angle we're expecting to come in, which is going to be 122 degrees. So if we turn this to 122, when we actually get to picking it up, actually let's offset it slightly so we see the needle shoot to one side when it picks it up. Okay, so it's starting to get dark, isn't it? We're right on the edge of the cloud now. I wonder what the cloud base is. Should we go and have a look on Navigraph? Oh, this Navigraph chart's broken. Nope, it's just taking a while to render. So we're here. Let's get the weather. Can we get the weather here? No, we can't. Can we get the weather at an airfield? Open airport. Weather. METAR. Broken 4,000 feet, overcast 5,600 feet. So we'd have to come down to 3,000 feet, but I'm not sure if I'm willing to do that. Overcast. 7,000. So the weather's pretty horrendous, basically. That's what it's telling us. Should we try dipping down below the cloud? Because this is no fun. We can't see anything up here, can we? We're doing very well on the fuel. Having said that, the lower we go, the more fuel we'll start drinking. It's a catch-22, isn't it? Do we want to go sightseeing or do we want to drink fuel? It's a bit of a pain. Let's have a look at the elevation plot as well. If we come into Little Nav Map, if we reset the window layout to default so we see everything, let's go and have a look at this. So there are no hills until way further down the route. So we could drop to 5,000 feet and see what it looks like underneath this cloud, couldn't we? Having said that though, look, that's all the way almost down to the floor. So maybe we are better off staying up here, because then we get the fuel economy. Jeep is saying it's going to be interested in your verdict on the value of a Navigraph subscription. I think for GA aeroplanes, for VFR, Little Nav Map is massively better than Navigraph for the actual seeing a route and getting information. For if you want airfield plates and you want to do IFR flying, then Navigraph wins. You could almost see Little Nav Map as more of a Swiss Army knife. The real value of Navigraph are the plates. So although it's nice to have this, if you're flying with a big jet, you're not going to be using it in this mode. You would switch it to IFR mode, and you would be looking at the SIDS and stars out of the airfields, which it's really, really good at. Having said that, Little Nav Map can do it as well. It's just, the huge benefit this brings is, say we were coming into a big airfield somewhere, so if we come back down, looking towards Zurich over here, Yeah, if we just go for this airfield here, for example, if we open the charts for that airfield, this is the stuff that is really useful, that you can't do this with Little Nav Map. Yeah? So we can actually see the diagram of the real plate. So if you're training for the real world, for example, this is what you would see in the real world in terms of your flight charts. So you're learning to interpret the real charts, not look at a video game screen. Yeah, so you've got all the background information about everything that is available to you, or looking at the, just the information for the airport, for example. You've got the real diagram that you would get in an operational flight plan pack. You've got the ILSs and things like that, so the routes in and all the restrictions are written in. Obviously we can make it so we can see it properly without the map showing through it, but there's a ton of information there, isn't there? About how to come in on the ILS. You've got all the frequencies, the direction of the runway or the ILS. You've got the heights at the various mileage distances out. It's very, very cool. But yeah, you just don't get any of that with Little Nav Map. And yes, you can use things like ChartFox, but that doesn't cover the whole world. But then neither does this. So if you're looking for plans for regional airports, then you're not going to find them in Navigraph. The smaller airports are not covered by the Jeppesen charts. You'd have to go and buy the books for that particular country. So in the UK there's a company called Poolies, for example. So yeah, Jeep is saying you can get the plates on the web only for certain countries, and only for certain areas even within those countries, and only for certain airfields. So if you happen to live in the US, you're very lucky in that a lot of that information is public information. So you can get it for free from the likes of Navigraph. So not from Navigraph, from ChartFox, for example. But if you want to go elsewhere in the world, it's a different story entirely. But yeah, the question remains, will I continue paying for it? It really depends how much I use it. At the moment, I can afford it purely because I've got this YouTube channel up and running, and the advertising revenue from the YouTube channel lets me have some nice pocket money things like Navigraph that I wouldn't have bothered spending the money on in the past. So, people can say, oh, it's alright for you, you can go buy aeroplanes and you can go and buy Navigraph because you can afford it. I've worked damn hard at this channel to make the money off the monetization of the channel, to have the money to fund the channel, to be able to make this content. The number of times I've been up into the early hours working on videos or learning aircraft so I could demonstrate. It's not been a given. It's the old saying, isn't it? The harder you work, the luckier you get. And it's not luck at all, really. Okay, it's starting to get dark. So, do we actually want to fly in the dark? It'd be quite nice actually to see how the lighting works inside the cockpit, wouldn't it? So let's turn on the map light and the cabin light and the instrument lights. Let's see what it looks like. Very cool. I had no idea. I've not actually tried flying this in the dark, so we'll let it get dark and see what it looks like. It should be good fun, actually. Once we get to the Alps, we will wind the clock back, because that's going to be no fun flying down valleys in the dark. Oh no, don't worry, Jeep. I wasn't taking it that way. It was just a comment that I've seen a few people mention on group flights, for example, when they'd seen that all of the aeroplanes appearing on the ground as the appropriate aeroplanes, and thinking, oh yeah, it's alright for you, but yeah, at what expense? Where everyone else has other hobbies, this is it for me. Or it has certainly been for the last couple of years. Having said that, I do need to make some changes because I'm losing fitness slowly, spending too much time doing this. I need to get back out running. I used to go running regularly, so I need to get back into that, which will mean losing a couple of evenings a week probably. Or not really losing them, but devoting them to other pursuits which will look after my health. It's too easy, especially with my job being with computers. So I'm a software developer. Sit here and work on the computer all day, have dinner, come back in and start looking at flight sim stuff in the evening. And you realise very quickly, you've gone several days in a row and not got out of your chair for several days, which is not good. So what was that aeroplane that just passed across our nose? Let's go and zoom in. Okay, they're not running transmitter. There's a couple of people behind us. You can see the nav lights twinkling away. How are we doing on the fuel? How's that burn going? I think we're going to switch back to the rear tank soon. Let's go for the front tank for a while, get it down to 16, I think. So switch back over to the front. I'm just looking at these gauges. I want that needle to come down. I want to keep them all fairly, and then we'll go for the rear and bring it down to 12. So I think if you look after the mixture and you fly at the right altitudes for the efficiency, you can fly a very long way. So we filled up at, was it Abbeville? Yes, because you can see the track there of me coming in. Just going to get the door, hang on. Okay. Oh, you can see the street lights coming on. We go and look outside. So we're going to get very pretty, isn't it? I did a group flight with the guys at Air that do ATC controlled, kind of relaxed ATC controlled group flights with the big jets. And we flew past Milan the other evening and I had it on live weather, and oh my word, it was spectacular with all the street lights lighting up the clouds. It really did look something. So here we go, next advert while we're flying along. Let's go and have a look. I'm going to show you Air as well. So it's Air Virtual. They are similar to Virtual Flight Online, but they are completely tailored towards doing group flights on Discord with the big jets with ATC. So I'm not going to go and log in and look around, but go visit them if you're interested in flying with ATC or dipping a toe into ATC. They are a brilliant on-ramp to do that. They're far less strict than VATSIM, for example. So if you're looking towards getting into VATSIM at some point, Air are a really good stepping stone towards that, where you can have the interaction with the controller. And if you make a mistake, everyone's just going to have a bit of a giggle about it. But it's, everything's educational, and everyone makes mistakes, and it's not frowned upon. And it'll be, you can even ask and say, "What am I supposed to do in this situation?" and have the conversation with the group. So yeah, Air are very, very good if you're wanting to get involved in ATC or communicating with like radio telephony language. They just use a Discord server for their ATC. They haven't got any particularly special software. They use Transmitter for aircraft location. So if you go and join their Discord server, once you've logged in, we'll get the link through to that. Okay, we're flying along, and it's getting dark, and the sun's gone down. What the cabin temperature's like. We've got the heat on, but cabin lights, instrument lights, volts. Where was it? Oh, we're fine. Look, we've got 20 degrees in the cabin. It's all good. Outside air temperature is -10. -10 centigrade, that is. About 17 Fahrenheit. So it's not warm. But then we are nearly at 10,000 feet, so you wouldn't expect it to be warm, would you? That's why we have the carb heat on as well, to stop the aeroplane from failing, falling out of the sky like a rock. Am I flying on VATSIM now? No, I'm not. Otherwise I'd be talking to ATC. And because I'm talking to you guys and doing a bit of a commentary for the live stream, I'm not. I rarely use VATSIM because if I do go and have a session on the flight simulator, I'm usually recording it for the YouTube channel. I don't think VATSIM controllers mind you broadcasting what they're saying and your interactions with them, but I've never done it. So I've always thought it would be a bit disingenuous to have an interaction with somebody when they don't know that it's going to be shared with the public, for example. So I'd actually want to go and read the VATSIM terms about that before I did it. I know some of the other crazy popular YouTubers have done it, like the real world pilots that fly the sim from time to time. Some of them have done it where they've talked to VATSIM, but they may have agreed with VATSIM in advance. Is it okay for me to share my interactions? I haven't asked, so therefore I'm not going to do it. Part of my work actually involves sometimes GDPR work, things like that, and it makes you kind of very aware of consent with, personal information or things like that. So knowing that you are being recorded is quite a significant piece of information, really. Okay, how are we doing? Let's have a look at that map, see if we're getting close to, see if we're getting close to the point where we were going to switch over frequencies. Has the needle come alive yet on nav2? No, it hasn't. So we're still quite some way out. Beckett Senior's gone shooting off ahead. What plane is he in? Was he in a Baron, did we see earlier? Yeah. So he's obviously quite a bit faster than us. So in terms of the overall journey, we're well past halfway now. Not sure how long we've been streaming for. Let's go and have a look. If I refresh my view of my own live stream. It doesn't actually tell you, does it, how long it's been on for, I don't think. 2:45. Oh yeah, sorry, I've seen it now. Being blind. Started streaming 2 hours ago. So I guess this is a really good test of the fuel consumption rate of the Beaver, and it looks like it's pretty good if you get to altitude and pull the mixture back. You just have to be careful with dialing things out to try and maintain a sensible speed. And playing with the propeller position and the fuel mixture to maintain, you know, or to extend the distance you might fly. Let's have a look outside while we're out here. It's getting dark. So we should be on the verge of picking up this VOR. We've lost the one behind us. So the one we were flying a radial from had a 100-mile range, I think it said. So let's go and measure the distance. We are now 70 miles from it, and we've already lost it. That's quite a surprise. I'm sure we said that CTL was 100 miles, yeah, supposedly, but we've lost the signal. That may be that there's land in the way along the way, like a hill or something, that's making line of sight to the beacon not work. I mean, by the same token, we could cut across and follow away from CAV towards BLM, but this is where you start to get into kind of figuring out what strategy you want to follow for yourself to go between A and B. I was just reading the live stream comments that Rai is saying good work as always. I'm going along the US West Coast with the aid of Little Nav Map. I like using Little Nav Map because it's very clear to see what's going on. So for the purposes of the live stream, you can see a lot of information there. So it's a very, very good visual aid. Navigraph isn't so much. But if you're doing an IFR flight, then obviously the plates really come into their own. So while you're en route, you can be researching the standard approach route you're going to follow, and the ILS information, and any, you know, restrictions and all that kind of thing. But I'm going to turn it off for the moment. So we're just going to rely on Little Nav Map and the simulator. And it really is getting dark. So at this point I am going to start winding the clock back. So we open the weather menu and we can say make it back into lunchtime please. So we get a much nicer view of the landscape as we fly along. Has anybody played much with the maps inside the simulator? Oh, I've forgotten we got the GTN 750 installed. Okay, this is a bit of a trick. I've not really shown you this. This aircraft obviously doesn't have GPS. If you've got the PMS 50 GTN 750 add-on, which is free to download off the internet, and you open it in the aircraft, I'll show you what happens. Give it a moment, it's just booting up. So we essentially get a GTN 750 to use. How cool is that? So we could go in here and we could say our flight plan today was, let's go and put a shortened version of that flight plan in. So where's an airfield that we could conceivably have taken off from? There's one there. LFOK. So say we're going down to LSZA. So LFOK. Oh, we could put in our original EGTB. Oops. Backspace. EGTB. Destination is Lugano. LSZA. LSZA. So even this aircraft, even though this aircraft doesn't have it, we can run this as a kind of a retrofitted system inside the aeroplane. So we're going to put some en route waypoints in. So insert after EGTB, we're going to go via BLM, or we'll go put both of these in actually. So CAV, then BLM. Yeah, CAV. So it's saying searching, and it's found one in South Africa, which is it's gone wrong. Look, it's found the wrong thing. CAV. And it's found duplicates. In other words, there's more than one. So we can look here and we can say, is it the Chalons one we're on about? And it's only 52 miles away, so it's going to be that one. So from CAV we're going to go to BLM. So we'll click on CAV and insert after and say BLM. And again, there's more than one. So we can see here, there's the one in France. So then after BLM we're going to KLO. So we'll just put that much in, yeah? So insert after KLO. Oh, I've gone faster than the interface again. KLO. Enter, and it's the one in France. Okay, so then if we go back out of here and go to map, we get a GPS and we can zoom out. And those links that we've just programmed in, you'll be able to see on the GPS track. Which is cool, isn't it? So if we wanted to now, we could switch the CDI over to GPS mode or is it going to allow it? No, it's not, look. This is forcing it into VOR lock mode. Yeah? That's a shame. Otherwise we could have switched this over to GPS mode and made the aircraft use our hacked in GPS, but at least we get the map, which is quite good for you guys to be able to see where we are. So Philippe Fontana is saying hello Mr. Beckett. Hello. I'm surprised I'm still awake actually doing this. We were out until, or up I should say, until the crazy hours of this morning because we had friends round after. We went out to do a charity quiz at the local football club. And then we got back and came back to our place. And they... somehow we all ended up watching the Rocky Horror Picture Show at about 1 in the morning because I'd never seen it. So that's why I've got a bit of a croaky voice today. And I am literally asleep on my feet. If you don't want this on, you just come back up here and click on the button. Ooh, can we actually remove it? There we go. But it's just to show you really that it's up there. You can get to the GTN 750. You can also have the VFR maps from the sim, which are a bit rubbish, but you know, better than nothing. And they will put the flight plan on if you've programmed it into a GPS unit in the aircraft, if you've got one. It's worth pointing out that we can come over here and say we want GPS please, so we can get a GTN, sorry, not GTN, the GNS 530. That might be why the GPS wouldn't enable on the PMS GTN 750, is because this wasn't present in the cockpit. It may be that if this was here, it would have worked. So if you've never seen one of these radios before, I'm just going to change course in a moment actually to 122 degrees on the compass. So let's do that before we start meddling with anything. That's interesting. I just pressed D. What's happened there is over time the gyro driven compass here had drifted away from the binnacle compass. Okay, which shows actually a failing in the aeroplane, because the I think, oh no, this is flying nav mode, so it wouldn't care about the compass. If we'd been flying heading mode, then we would have gone wildly off track, because it would have been following this and gone, you know, this wasn't lined up with magnetic north, for example, whereas that one obviously is. Which is why, if you look down here, you get a heading bug, and you also get the heading compass, so you can adjust it. So the way to cheat that, rather than looking at the binnacle and then matching it here, you can just press D, which lines up the direction you're actually going for you. Yeah, sorry, I was going to go and program some of the route into the GPS to make it easy for ourselves. So if we go to the menu button, sorry, that's the wrong button to press. Let's press menu again to get rid of it. We want the flight plan button. EGTB CAV BLM. Ah, that's interesting. So what's happened there is when we programmed into the GTN 750 up here, it actually programmed it into the simulator, or the part of its brain that this GPS sees. So we could press the CDI button here to go into GPS mode and have this follow that track. So it's going to do it for us. Yeah, so the plane is now going to come back over to the GPS track that we've got on the map. So we have actually got working GPS now, which is interesting. So if we then press flight plan again to come back out of there and zoom out on this, we can see that route. Very cool. And we also get ETE, so an hour and a half to get to our destination. We're 84 miles away from the next leg. Well, this is where that GTN is so much better though. If we open it up again, we'll have to wait for it to boot up, I guess. This is where this suddenly wins, because you can configure what information you see. So if we go to the map screen, for example, and we zoom out, there's that GPS track, which is just heading back down towards. So it's coming back down towards going to BLM, yes? You can see at the moment it's showing a track up here, which isn't really much use to us. What we really would like to know is how long until we get to BLM. So we can go to menu, and we can say change the fields on display, change the track, and we'll have the estimated time to waypoint, and then go back and just look at the map. There we go. So we've got 36 minutes until we get to BLM at the at the current speed, which is really useful. So we can go and stick this on the outside view now. Can we not have this on the outside view? Apparently not. It won't. Oh no, it will. You just have to go and switch it back on again when you're on the outside view. No, it won't. It's doing it on the inside, isn't it? That's annoying. So it only works when you're on the internal view. Okay. Anyway. So we know we've got half an hour to go. This is stuttering about every couple of seconds. What's causing that? Is it because I've been putting it through the mill with running different bits of software? So Peter Bassi is saying that the rolling cache causes stutters. Possibly. So about every 4 seconds it's doing it. So maybe we'll cut this short for today at Basel. Unless we think of a nice provincial airfield that will be good fun to come in and land at along the way. Unless everybody really wants to see the Alps, in which case we'll shortcut to it with SLU. It'd probably be a bit more fun, wouldn't it? We've been flying along in the clouds for so long now. Oh look, it's the spruce goose. Who's that? Can't see them on transmitter, it's just someone flying along with us. The Hercules, the H4 Hercules by Howard Hughes. It's a long way away, of course it's very big. Peter Bassi says, hello everyone, sorry I'm joining late. So what I'm going to do, so this flight doesn't take all day, as soon as we straighten up on the track, I'm going to SLU us down to the entrance into the Alps over here, and then we'll fly it by hand towards the destination. So I'll take us straight into Bouche, I think it's pronounced, Lucerne, and we'll fly in through the hills, or through the lake at Lucerne. So we'll go straight for the lake. Okay, let's do it now. So we want to turn slightly that way and then jump across the ground like a missile. We're in the right direction. We're getting there. Also will chop our height down below the clouds. I'm using SLU to do this, by the way, if you've never seen SLU. And you can see the entrance into the hills in front of us, which is perfect. And there's the lake we were aiming for. Obviously it's stuttering as it's loading assets in. Okay, so we're going to come back off of Slough now and fly this by hand through the Alps. Well, it says that, but the autopilot is still on, which I've just disengaged. It's stuttering like crazy. If it doesn't stop stuttering, we may have to just land somewhere. This may be a long-term bug of running this aircraft. I've never flown this long in this aircraft before, so it may be a bug in the aircraft, of course. So what we could do is go and put it down at a nearby airfield. So we've got Interlaken military airfield here, or Meiringen military. Stuttering had gone away then. It's just suddenly started stuttering again after not stuttering for a while. Yeah, something's broken inside the simulator. I don't think... Can I clear this? The rolling cache is a question for the YouTube channel. Can I clear the rolling cache while I'm in the sim, or do I have to go back out to the main menu to do it? Presuming I'd have to go out to the menu. Yeah, so what I'm going to do is put the plane down on this little runway down here. It's the disused military airfield. Which way's the wind? There is no wind. We'll try this on the live stream just to see how well it works. So I'll go back out to the main menu once I've landed. Clear the rolling cache, come back into the sim and see how it behaves for the rest of the way through the Alps. Stutter's making it quite difficult to control sometimes. That was close. Okay, let's go out to the main menu. We'll come back in at the same place where we loaded, or where we landed, sorry. So we'll clear the cache, we'll come back into the sim at the same airfield and see what happens. Just put all the levers back in their standard positions on the throttle quadrant. It'd be interesting actually to see. So, okay, everybody tell me, where is the cache? Is it in the options somewhere? General options. Is it going to be in data or rolling cache? Delete rolling cache file. Delete. Okay. And it's done it. But I had rolling cache off, so I doubt it was that then. Yeah, but the flight was going wrong. So should we get a bit quicker plane to go through the Alps rather than use the Beaver all the way? What should we grab? The Caravan's quite good, isn't it? We could be an absolute maniac and get the 146 out. I don't know. We haven't got all the planes installed at the moment. Kodiak's good fun as well. I haven't run the Stearman since I updated it. There's been a massive update to it, hasn't it? Hasn't there? So maybe we do that just for a bit of fun. We'll go and grab the Stearman, see what the new update to it is like. So we were at Bouche. So we need to find LSMI on the map. That's not LSMI. Why did that go and... Okay, it's not an active airfield. That's why we can't choose it. So LSMM should work. Meringen. So let's go and put ourselves on the ground and let's see what this new version of the Stearman is like. So we'll fly the rest of the flight in the Stearman. Fly low and slower along the valley bottoms all the way through the Alps down to Lugano. Okay. So let's see about how well this works. So battery on. And make sure we got the levers working, fuel cut off, and the nav light strobe. We don't want smoke on.
Clear prop.
Okay, I should have had the engine cracked open there. And we've lost the connection again from the simulator farm. Okay, it helps if you turn the magnetos on, of course. Okay, that's all working. It's stuttering like a good one though, look. Every time I move the screen up past... What is causing that? Oh, it's the server farm is having its usual nightmare of a Saturday evening. Okay. Whoa, look at that stuttering. Look at the stutters. Oh my word. That's just stunning, isn't it? How, look at that, that's unplayable now. Just something has happened within the sim. I don't think it's this aeroplane doing it. Obviously as a lunatic flying the wonder if this will get any better when we take off. If not, this is a shut the sim down job. The sim has broken, hasn't it? So the small stutters we were seeing in the other plane are nothing compared to these stutters. I wonder if it's the presence of the DC3 is causing it. The battery's just really struggling badly. I've never seen it stutter since Sim Update 11. This is as of just this session. So yeah, this is a go back to restart the sim job basically. Which is a shame. Quit the desktop. Bear with me. I have clicked on yes. It's just obviously having an absolute fit. Something has badly broken inside the sim. Let's close everything else down as well while we're at it. Close transmitter. Close FS Realistic has shut itself down. Let's go and open Task Manager and see that... No, that's not what I asked you to do. Task Manager. Has Flight Sim actually gone? Let's go in name order, please. I think it has. Okay. Run Flight Sim again. See if it's going to behave this time. This is because I reckon I installed, or in add-on linker, I put a load of aeroplanes back in the list, as you saw. And first flight with a lot of aeroplanes back and stutters. Since Sim Update 11 came out, I've been choosing the one aeroplane I want. And I've not had any problems at all. So I may have to go back to doing that and only choosing the aeroplane I'm flying to be the add-on available. And just let everybody else in the world be substituted. It's kind of an interesting one, isn't it? It means that the sim really can't handle. I wouldn't be surprised if it was just the presence of the DC3 being sat there broke it, or broke it even further. See, if this had been anybody else streaming Flight Sim or recording a video, you wouldn't have seen any of this. You'd just suddenly seen a sudden cut in the video. You wouldn't have seen any of it happen. And you would have learnt nothing. It amuses me most actually when you see these kind of real world pilots. They'll record a flight from A to B and you'll see sudden cuts where they mess something up. And they've re-recorded the same thing over and over and over again and then edited it into a perfect flight. And you just think, how false are you? What is the point? Who's going to learn that how to deal with something going wrong or a mistake if you're going to cover up everything you've done? I mean, okay, the sim goes wrong, but why not just show that and show what the recovery is? So Jeep is saying he has all planes loaded with no issues. Yeah, usually I do. I think the sim had started to break just during the long flight. So something had, during those various connections, disconnections, something had broken in the engine of the sim. And even, going into another flight, it wasn't repairing it. So no doubt, having restarted it completely. I've actually seen it in the past where you had to do a full reboot to get Windows to behave itself. It's rare, but I have seen that happen, where even restart the sim didn't fix it, but a reboot did. Windows 11 doesn't cause any issues. It's much better than Windows 10. So Stearman's a bit slow, isn't it, for doing this? What shall we use? The Skymaster's quite good fun, isn't it? We could go for the King Air analog. That's fast. Yeah, should we do that? King Air analog. We have to remember where we were now. So we're going to open Little Nav Mac back up. Minimize that. We were just choosing somewhere along this route, weren't we? So LSZC will do. I've asked the developer of FS Realistic if he can stop it doing that. He makes it pop to the front all the time if it's got focus, and it's annoying as heck. LS, what was it? ZC. Change it to lunchtime. We'll put ourselves over here on the parking, set as departure, and fly. We will need to configure the throttles for the reversers, I think. We'll check that once we're in the aeroplane. I haven't got a VR headset, Jeff, so I'm just reading the live stream comments. Okay. This is where I have to remember how to start this thing. I've not done it for a few days. Okay, so if we have external power, we can switch it on over here. But normally you just have batteries. So you would go and turn the battery on. And you would go and unlock the fuel, which I can't remember how to do any of this anymore now. I'm just trying to think through how this aeroplane works. Oh, beacon next, sorry. I remember the procedures for the planes just long enough to record a video normally. Okay, so we go and start before we do anything, let's go and make sure we got the right control configuration. So we want the King Air configuration for the quadrant, otherwise the levers will be all over the place. There it was. King Air. Apply, go back, resume. So the trick being here, the levers are in the right places. So propeller condition goes all the way forwards. And then we go start on the right engine and we watch the RPM come up to about 12%. I'm starting to remember now. And then we move that condition to low idle, which introduces fuel, and that will continue on past 50%. When it gets to 50%, we can turn the starter off and the generator on. If we do both, we overheat the generator and kill it. So there goes past 50%, so the starter comes off, so we can move the generator up and beyond up to reset, and it falls back down, and that's now working. Then we can do the same for the left engine. So we're waiting for this to come up. Let's just see, I'm going to turn this up a bit so you can hear more of what's going on. So that's coming up through 12% and beyond. So then we introduce fuel. That ignites obviously and continues on round. Gets to 50%. When it passes through 50%, we can turn the starter off. There it goes. So starter off and generator up and reset and back down again. That's done. Avionics master power can come on. The auto feather can be armed. We need to open the bleed air valves. We turn the inverter on, otherwise we have no power to the radio kit from the engines. It will just still be draining the batteries. We haven't turned on the oxygen system, which we've just done. We also need to go and turn on the electric trim and rudder boost now. And we're pretty much good to go. We're on external power, or no, it's saying external power is available. Okay, so we've got no warnings. We can cancel these, those were from earlier. We can go and set ourselves an altitude for later in the flight, so we'll say something unrealistic that we won't reach because we're not going to use it, we're going to fly by hand basically, so we'll set it for 7,000 feet. So we'll calibrate the altimeter while we're here, calibrate compasses while we're here. No messages. We're going to fly by hand, we're not going to need a route as such. We'll zoom out. So if we go and have a look from outside, we should have both engines running. And we've got this the bug, the sim update 11 with this the engine screech. So flaps to takeoff position. We'll go back to the cockpit and off the parking brake we'll spin left and chop this guy up with the right engine. Serves him right for standing there in the cold with a t-shirt on. Which way was the wind? I think there was no wind earlier when we looked, wasn't there? Yeah, there's no wind, so we can take off any direction we like. So is this the taxiway or the runway? Can't see in the snow. Let's have a look at the map. No, the runway's at the end of this taxiway. Okay. Let's just have a look at the volume levels. Whoops. FS Realistic's done its really annoying trick, so I'm going to turn that down a bit so you can hear me over it. There's a Kodiak's just gone flashing past. I think it was a Kodiak. Can't open the engines too far, otherwise we'll destroy them. Okay, so we're airborne. Shouldn't need high idle on the fuel. So we're just retracting the flaps, keeping it fairly shallow on the climb out, getting the speed up. 140 knots. Gear up. We have to figure out a strategy now to turn without hitting a hillside. So we'll go right over this lake. Yeah, the stuttering's gone away, look. It's restarting the sim has fixed it. Okay, so let's have a look at the map and figure out what we're going to do. So we're going to go around this island, follow it all the way around, and then go and follow down what our original plan was. Did I turn the rest of the lights on? I don't think I did I? So let's have the landing lights on, and the nav lights and the recognition lights, and the strobes. Now at least other people can see us. Okay, so if we were to zoom back in on this, we can see the route we're going to be going. Just used a bit of aileron trim to stop the plane from rolling. Am I sure the jet noise is not related to FS Realistic? I don't think it is, because if you switch FS Realistic off, the jet noise doesn't go away. It's within the environment, it's not, it's really odd, it's hard to describe. So at the moment you can see we are going very fast. So we'll wind that back a bit in a minute. But that does mean we'll get down through the Alps quickly. So we'll bring the propeller condition back. So we're going to turn right at the next corner in the lake, and then go south and follow the valleys. So let's go left to give ourselves some turning room. So we're heading south down towards Lugano. Let's get the camera out over the nose so you get to see the scenery. Okay, so just looking at the live stream now, we've got the oh, the weather just changed. So now we've got some time to have a look. Lola Joe is saying, I just want to thank you for your A310 tutorial. Oh, you're welcome. So we get a little bit of height, so we're not so close to the ground. Jump back in the cockpit, we can see what's going on inside. Should we turn some internal lights on? They're over here, aren't they? Or not. Thought they were. We'll turn the pitot heat on though while we're here. Nav. Taxi, ice, nav, recognition, beam, strobe, tail, floodlight. Where are the internal lights? Who can remind me? Don't look where I'm going, really. Are they on the autopilot? On the co-pilot side. Cabin air. Cabin temperature. That's a good point, actually. We need to turn that on. It's on auto there. We haven't turned this up. It's probably pretty cold outside. Turn on the instrument lights. Maybe that it's just a bit. I think it's the because it's so bright outside, it's giving that false impression where it does aperture control on the camera to kind of do HDR. Okay, let's just do this. There we go. So if we zoom out slightly. So we're heading along the valley, so we bear right at the next junction in the valley. I'll have to update the description of the video because obviously we flew the Beaver for the first half of the journey, but then we lost the will to live at travelling at 120 knots everywhere and switched over to the King Air. Oh no, it's an F-18 has joined us. Continue following the valley. Shall we play with the weather to see if we can make how pretty we can make the valleys look? They usually look quite good at sunset, don't they, or sunrise. It's a bit too late. Let's try that. Cocky F-18 wants to try and follow us. Let's go into the bottom of the valley. See how good his piloting skills really are. And I think he's just put it in the floor. So Cycling Heavyweight Champ is saying, John, what are your top 3 favourite non-aircraft add-ons? What do you mean? Do you mean things like scenery or things outside of the simulator? I haven't got much scenery. I tend to use stock scenery. The only one I use regularly is the Wycombe Air Park custom scenery. So we're going to go left over the brow of this. Looks like a glacier, doesn't it? It's that kind of, it's got that hollowed out look of where a glacier has carved the landscape. Are we supposed to be going down this valley? Yes, we are. Is that realistic? Don't think they were too impressed with that descent. I'll take no notice of the spam appearing in the chat. The robot will come along and clear it up in a moment. We're getting there slowly. quite good fun, isn't it? Right, enough with the hot dogging. Let's climb to a sensible height and come into Lugano a bit further down the valley at a good approach height. I think the FAT may have just gone into that hillside. His nav lights switched off halfway up the hill. So we're about 25 miles out from Lugano, so let's get a little bit of height. Yeah, just reading the live stream comments, I tend to spend my money on aeroplanes and then learn the procedures. That's where my interest is how the different avionics systems work and the flight management computers and what the procedures are like for the more complicated aeroplanes. That's kind of my interest, if that makes sense. And again, there's on top of that, there's the real world procedures, which I sometimes demonstrate when I'm not just messing around with an aircraft, where you're doing things like, staying below 250 knots, below 10,000 feet, and using the barometric pressure until you get to the transition altitude, and then switching to standard barometric pressure, things like that. But yeah, it's an interesting one, and the use of the correct lights at the correct times during the flights, which again, if I'm going to do it properly, you wouldn't have the strobe on until you're on the runway. Your beacon light is on before the engine and stays on until the engine is shut down, things like that. Nav lights go on when you're in the aircraft preparing. During the big jets, then you don't put the hydraulics on until you're being pushed back as well. There's all sorts of bits and pieces. Okay, so we'll be turning right along this valley and it should lead us straight down into Lugano. Wind the clock back so we can actually see the scenery rather than it being it's very atmospheric when it's dark, but when you can actually see where you're going, it kind of helps. So it's a huge hill in the way, so we should be able to follow around here. There's the lake, so there's Lugano there. I guess to have a bit of fun, we could do a touch and go at Lugano, couldn't we, just before we finish the flight at Lugano? No, let's go straight for Lugano. I've flown at Lugano so many times on live streams and stuff. there's a scenery artifact right in front of us. It's an interesting one. That's new. And it's disappeared. Oh no, it only works from one way then. Yeah, obviously there's a glitch. Interesting. Hey, we're nearly there. Lugano's just down here on the floor by the water. We'll overfly, and what's the wind doing actually down here? Hover over. 2 knots variable. So hardly anything. You can see the runway down now, look. Jagoli, we switched to shorten it up because this was taking hours in the Beaver. So I switched back to the King Air, the analog King Air, and we've flown the last bit through the Alps with the King Air at low level. Just coming into land at Lugano. Lugano, sorry. So bleeding some speed off on the way round. And then we'll turn over the water and come back in for a landing. There's the runway down there. Okay. Gear down. Which obviously introduces drag. You can see the indicated airspeed dropping off. Okay. That's interesting. Okay, it's a three-way switch. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Auto feather off. Close the bleed air valves. Turn all the lights off. Pitot heat off. Avionics master off. Battery off. And we're good to go. And pull the propellers back. That's interesting. Why are they still spinning? Oh, they're just freewheeling me. Yeah. Very good. The helicopter. It's a shame it doesn't animate the blades on other helicopters. Right, so that's our flight done, and that's the end of the live stream. We are at Lugano, by the way. So, Jago Lee says, what are your thoughts about the Just Flight BAE 146? I bought it recently and fell in love with it. Just the right amount of complexity and 80s weirdness. It's fantastic, isn't it? And it runs really smoothly. It's not too much of a resource hog. Yeah, I really like flying it. I tend to turn the FMC off, though, and fly it with VOR to VOR, which is as it would have been, like, you know, the 146-100, for example. That's why it has the option in the tablet to go and remove the FMC. Should we watch this landing going on? See how he gets on. Whoa, he's gone super jerky all of a sudden. What is causing that? Is that the helicopter causing it? Something's causing it to go really jerky. F-18's being at so-and-so. Anyway, I'm going to call it a day there, and I'll see you all again soon. Okay, take care.